Welcome to the Exec Exchange, 15-minute podcast in which a leader from the water sector shares a story to inspire, inform, and educate other water sector leaders around the world. My name is Piers Clark, and my guest today is Amos Saati from Freetown in Sierra Leone. And we are going to be talking about an initiative which I think we proudly call Freetown Tree Town. Amos, wonderful to have you join me today.
Thank you.
Now, we always start by trying to find out a little bit about our speaker. So tell me, what did you do before you were in the role you're in now? How did you get into this role?
I used to be a technical advisor with the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change, embedded in Sierra Leone Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, where I support the minister to implement transformative strategies and also support smallholder farmers to get inputs that will lead to food security.
Excellent. Sounds like a great job. And the reason we're talking to you today is because you've been the brains behind the green infrastructure investments at Freetown in Sierra Leone. Now, I'm hoping that other people have got better geography than me, but let's start with where is Sierra Leone? How many people live in the country? And then tell me about Freetown.
Sierra Leone is in western part of Africa. It's an amazing country with 8.2 million population. It's a symbolic for a lion mountain when it was discovered by Pedro and Siera many, many years ago. Freetown is the capital city, and we have got 1.3 million people that are in Freetown. Currently, the city is being led by a very transformative woman called Yvonne Akisoya, OBE, and she has been in office since 2018. She is the first mayor in Freetown to have been re-elected for a second term, which shows how much job she has done since she took power. Currently, she is also vying in as the flag bearer for the 2028 elections. It's an amazing time for Freetownians and Sierra Leoneans as well. Freetown is indeed beautiful, one of the country that has got beautiful beaches as well, good for tourism.
This is an audio podcast, and so the people listening won't be able to see how your face completely lit up when you started talking. You're clearly very proud of your country and very proud of your city. We've got a West African city serving 1.3 million people. And the reason we're talking today is because I heard one of your colleagues speak at an event in Singapore earlier this year. And the event was around flood management and water resource management. And they mentioned this initiative called Freetown Tree Town. And I believe you were the brains behind this. So now tell me, why was this initiative created and what does it involve?
Climate risks in Freetown is exacerbated by intense deforestation, driven by the unregulated expansion from people within the rural to the urban area, people coming out from the rural part of Western area to the urban part of Western area. And in fact, Freetown is currently losing over 500,000 trees every year, according to the World Bank Multi-City Hazard Report.
So you've got unregulated destruction of trees as the rural population move into the urban areas.
Yes, we have trees cut down within our water reserve for house construction. If people are migrating and then they need places to stay. If the current trend of tree loss continues, we could risk losing all trees, which could result in a complete water shortage for people living in the Western area, particularly in Freetown. That was the idea behind planting trees to ensure that we save the environment, and that will lead to reduction of floods, reduction of landslide, because where we plant more trees and where there have been slope stabilization, there will be stabilization, and also improve water storage and also reduce extreme heat, because with no trees, we are vulnerable to the direct ray of the sun. And with more trees, we have high level of shades.
It's been proven many times that the more trees you have in the city, the cooler the city is for people to live in. So many people go, all right, we're going to have a scheme to plant some trees. Now, can you share a bit about the scale at which you've done things in Freetown?
With support from the World Bank Group, we started planting in 2020 with 250,000 trees. And those trees that we planted, 60% were designed to protect our water sources, and 30% were for backyards. We work with community people and we plant these economic trees like oranges, mangoes, guava in their backyard that will bring in benefits. These are trees that will ensure that these people are protected, because once they are grown, we give them shade, we give them food. And also how the project is designed, we incentivize community because one of the reasons people are cutting down the trees is for charcoal production. So those communities that live near the trees are being hired to protect the trees, and they are paid every month. And also into the coastal area, those that are doing the mangroves are also hired to protect the mangroves. We bring them out of those harmful practices and give them an alternative. Also, we just don't plant. We also track the trees because we wanted to enter into the carbon market. So we understand how many trees are there, what are they sequestering, which gives some value into the carbon market. So we are planting the trees to protect our water sources, to change people's socioeconomic lives, to ensure that we have a protected and a sustainable environment where everyone can thrive.
It's such a brilliant project. 60% to preserve the water resources and 30% to create commercial value. I am curious, can you share further who gets to harvest the economic trees and monetize them?
We have got over 166 reforestation areas across the Western area. How we design the planting, we go into community and they share with us where the trees need to be planted. So whatever comes out of that tree that has been planted is owned by the community.
Do you know how many of the 250,000 trees that you planted in 2020 are still alive?
We just completed a universal tracking of the trees that were planted from 2020 till 2024. Our portfolio right now takes us to 1.2 million trees that include mangroves that have been planted. And the analysis that we have done shows us that we are at 61% survival rate. We have not completely analyzed the data that has been sent in because we have a process wherein we have an in-house team that does the manual verification. We have a team that approves the tree or rejects the tree. So a rejection can be you didn't track the tree very well, and approve can be you track the tree very well. So we're at 61% right now because we have not completely analyzed the survivability of the rejected trees that have been done. So we're optimistic that once that detailed analysis is done, we're going to have increase of the survival rate. We are moving to technology now where we're going to be leveraging AI to do that for us.
Anyone with a sort of horticultural background will recognize that when you plant a whip, a very young tree, its chances of survival are much greater than if you plant a more mature tree. Amos, tell me, how old are the trees you are planting?
We're not planting mature trees. We're planting seedlings. We do source them from nurseries. And let's say we are planting in July. We start telling them to start nursing the trees in January. So each tree that we are planting is about 6 to 7 months old that goes into the ground. We have a team of growers and tracker. Their role is to ensure that tree survived between 7 months to 3 years old. They are incentivized every month to ensure that they care for the tree and they track the tree and sync that data into our system, which will then enable us to see how the tree is growing because we have a technology that we developed with Greenstone technology farm that is based between US and Tanzania that are supporting us to visualize the trees that are on the ground in the office.
One of the things I love here is that you're planting trees for the future generations. So the trees that were planted in 2020 were little seedlings. Now they're 5 years old. They're probably getting to the scale where they're casting a bit of shade. They're generating fruit. And of course, in 20 years' time, it's going to absolutely change how those areas look. I assume you are hoping to still be around to watch this. You'll still be working part of Freetown and seeing the fruits of your labor.
Exactly. I'm really excited, even now that we've just spent like 5 years in planting those trees. In 2017, we had a deadly mudslide that happened in Sierra Leone. The area that the mudslide happened was demarcated by the government as a no-go area. When the mayor came into office through the initiative, we did forestry planting there. So if you go down to that area, you'll see it's been forested. These were trees that are planted in 2020. They are already matured. And these are trees that we don't pay growers and trackers anymore to take care of because they're already big enough to survive on themselves. And also in the backyards where we have planted economic trees, we have people benefiting from the oranges, from the apples, from the guava, from the mangoes that have been planted since 2020. Those trees are not being properly cared for because they have reached a stage where they can survive on their own. The reason we work with communities, even though we do not pay them formally to guide the process, is that they benefit from the fruits. This also helps ensure the trees are not cut down because the communities are preventing others from cutting them down.
That's actually a brilliant plan because the community both benefits and defends the trees. Going back a bit earlier, you mentioned 60% of the trees are for protecting the water resources. How's that working? Have you got data around that? And how do they protect the water resources?
So we got really high rates of encroachment into the water sources. People grabbing land, people cutting down the trees, even for the safety of the water, the health of the water. If you've got people building very close to these water sources, the health of the water is not guaranteed. If you're building in a house, of course, you want to have a septic tank. We've seen situation over the years where people's houses are very close to the water sources. With the aid of the central government, we have collaborated in planting those trees there to ensure that the water health is preserved. Those that understand the science behind how water is formed will definitely agree that the more trees, the more guarantee you have of water being sustained into those reservoirs.
Brilliant. You're absolutely correct. Now, just to summarize all we've discussed, what we've got is a city with 1.3 million people. You planted 1.2 million trees over the last 5 years, and these are to sequester carbon, protect the water resources, and provide economic benefits to the communities. You could have stuck up great big fences or something to keep people away from it, but actually, this is a much more innovative way of preserving, doing that zoning to protect your water resource areas and therefore protect the water quality. And yet at the same time, you've created economic impact by having trees that are bearing fruit, and you're paying people to preserve and protect and monitor these trees, thereby creating a whole cottage industry in its own right. It's such a clever plan. I hope it's a model that other cities around the world might be able to accommodate and copy. Now, we're running out of time, so I'd like to finish with just asking you if you could get in a time machine and go back 20 years and talk to a young Amos Saati, what advice would you give him?
I will definitely tell that person to invest more in learning and skills, Ali. I've seen younger people that have really spent time in investing in learning and skill, Ali, being very productive, having enthusiasm about being an agent of change through social entrepreneurship. We've seen a lot of impact being done through people that are solving problems, investing in learning and getting the skills, and also using those skills in bringing change in communities or in your society or in your country. That will definitely be of good significance and will ensure that you are not only productive, but you're also creating an impact in society.
Brilliant. You have been listening to the Exec Exchange with me, Piers Clark, and my guest today has been Amos Saati from Freetown in Sierra Leone. We've been talking about Freetown Tree Town. I hope you can join us next time. Thank you very much.